The first thing we need to work on in the 2008 legislative session is transparency in state government. We've got a state government, a General Assembly, that for all intents and purposes operates behind closed doors and as secretly as possible. We introduce bills as late as we possibly can, and then we try to minimize what the process of public discussion about those issues are, and wind up spending money in a lot of places in a very unaccountable fashion. I think it's fascinating to me when people say, well, it's an election year, therefore we're not going to do this, we're not going to do this, and we're going to do something else. And in this election year where we actually have some direct accountability. So why don't we talk about in non-election years that we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't do this, because it's not an election year and we should be acting accountably then. And that's what the Transparency Initiative is all about, and I think that 2008 is going to be a good year for that. Well, there are two ways that transparency affects the average voter. First of all are the decisions that are not made as a result of transparency. For instance, there are some school districts who have entered into contracts with individuals or service organizations that really aren't providing any service. They're just signing off on that contract because they're politically powerful and politically influential, and it makes sense for the school district to think, oh, we'll just sign on to this contract and have that guy as a friend of ours.
Because no one will ever know.
Because no one will ever know. And now they will know. And now the school district has to make the decision, who do we want to get mad? The politically powerful or the people who are paying our bills and whose kids come to our schools? And the same thing at the state level. Who do we want to pay off, and now the voter can see it. The other way it influences is, imagine the lawn care contractor who's doing some yards in and around, say, Dover, who can now go online and say what the contract costs to cut the grass for the Dover Green and say, hey, I can do it for less than that, and I can do it better than that. And so you now have competition where some of those contracts in the past might have been directed one way or another. So you get some accountability towards the expense, and you also get accountability towards what we actually spend money on. And I think both those things impact every Delawarean. This money can be redirected to the services and priorities that we really have in this state, such as getting the money into the classroom as opposed to some contractor who's providing some services nobody's watching, so that we can actually get it to buy books, improve the facility, help out the teacher. We can always get schools built with that additional money. In the last year we pushed off spending of $40 million, I believe it was, somewhere in that vicinity, of school construction that we could not do because we did not have the money to do it. Well, if we start putting together a few cost savings, and that's only 1% of our state budget, would have been able to have all the schools fully funded for their school construction last year. We were unable to do that. But all we have to do is find 1%, and we'd be able to fully fund school construction. Probably the key thing that I hear when I go to Civic Association meetings in my district is about the quality and shape of the roads within the district. We have some streets and neighborhoods, and as well as county streets, that have potholes the size of small and large SUVs, and we're just unable to get to it. And we have some roads that there are some significant safety issues related to them, but there's no money within DelDOT to make those fixes because we've spent that money elsewhere. We've been using the transportation dollars, the dollars supposed to go to road construction, to subsidize and spend and support the operating budget that's just frankly been bloated. And so we can't make those spendings anymore because we're spending that money instead of on roads, we're spending it on consultants, we're spending it on other operating activities that are not related to the roads. And I tell, in my community I have 212 different communities in my district. And if each one of those communities had 5 roads, and each road construction project that I can fund costs $50,000, and I can split that with the rep, that means I can do about 10 roads a year with the money that I have right now. And with 212 communities, 10 roads a year, that means that every community will have all their roads will be paved every 100 years. I mean, that's just unacceptable, but that's where we are in the state of Delaware because of just total mismanagement at the state level. I am doing everything I can, one, through the Transparency Initiative to show where we're wasting money at the state level, two, in trying to open up the process within the General Assembly so that people can see what bills we're putting through, and in three, demanding fiscal accountability out of the government. Last year, the Republican caucus in the Senate wrote a letter to the governor saying, we need to have $100 million worth of cost cuts. Where are they? And we held that line. We were the only caucus that basically every member voted to constrain the budget growth. And we're proud of that effort. But the truth of the matter is we are the minority caucus and in the Senate, and the majority caucus controls a lot of the agenda, and I think we're driving in a very, very risky direction.